that, we bring in Brit Hume, chief political analyst. Bret Baier is going to join us in just a moment, chief political anchor and executive editor of Special Report. And we will sort of take a look at what to expect tonight. Brit, it's always good to see you.
Thank you,
Martha. Very much for joining me here this afternoon in Washington, D.C. Bret and I were just at every State of the Union address. The president hosts a lunch for the network anchors, something that you have done many times on the day of this big speech. And clearly he wants to focus on America 250 and what we mentioned. He, I think, understands that the job tonight is to reach people on the economy, which is one of the big topics that I know. He also said it's a big speech. Tonight's important. He talked about that. He talked about the history of it. He talked about the fact that this is the one that everybody watches. This is the big speech, he said. Your thoughts as we look ahead to
51 years ago, Gerald Ford stood in front of the same audience here in the Capitol and said, the State of the Union is not good. No president ever said that before, and no president ever has since, and I don't think this one is going to say anything like that tonight. It's obviously going to be as upbeat as he can make it, although he has a big, tall order in trying to convince the U.S. Voters that the economy is good, because everything we know about it tells us that they don't think it's very good at all, and they hold him accountable.
So, you know, it's interesting because I saw something you posted about it last week. When you look at the numbers, and we have some new consumer confidence numbers that came in today, up 2.2 from last month at 91.2. That's a good confidence number. And you were saying how you think things look pretty good, but people aren't feeling it. It feels like we've been there before.
It's odd that they don't feel it because the consumer confidence suggests that they're spending. And, of course, that is an engine of the economy that's central to growth and very, very important. And it's a little surprising to see that number because it is not reflected in when you ask people what sort of their sentiment about the economy. People think the economy is bad, and they hold him accountable for it.
So let's look at a couple of other numbers here. These are approval numbers in January before the midterms, which is roughly where we are right now. We're in February. In 2018, President Trump was at 45% heading into that midterm. Biden was at 47 in the same time period. And this time around, President Trump at 44. So similar territory as they face what is always an uphill battle, Brit, which is to try to hold on to their majority.
Exactly right. And I think, you know, if the election were held today, Martha, not only would the House go, as I think it probably will, there's a very good chance that the Senate would go, too, to the Democrats. But the election is not being held today, and this president is going to be up there tonight trying to get a campaign started that could salvage at least the Senate and possibly even, he hopes and prays, the House, which would be quite an extraordinary turnaround considering the situation that he's in with the approval numbers he has and the approval numbers, particularly as we've been talking about here on the economy.
The economy, for sure. Bret Baier is joining us now, chief political anchor and executive editor of Special Report. It's going to be very interesting. Bret, good to see you again. As I was just saying, when Bret was joining us, we were just at the luncheon, off-the-record luncheon that the president hosts for network anchors who are covering the address tonight. It was a wide-ranging luncheon, and it is off the record, but it sort of sets the tone for what the president is going to be focused on. And I said he clearly sees this as a big opportunity and a very big and important speech for him tonight.
Yeah, Martha, great to see you. After you left, because you had to go do your show, the president continued his tour.
Thanks to you, because you had a watch on.
I did have a watch. I said, Martha, it's getting to your time. But he gave us a tour of the residence upstairs, and he did put a couple of things on the record about the speech tonight. He said that the U.S. economy is going to be, quote, the best 3 years in the nation's history economically, and it has already started. He said he will call for a new form of tax cuts, both personal and corporate, tonight. Didn't get into details there, but there will be new policy projections when it comes to the economy, and calls for. He's hitting again that this is a celebration of America at 250 and how well the country is positioned as we go into that anniversary in July. And on Iran, specifically, he said this is a big negotiation on Thursday in Geneva, that Iran really wants to make a deal. But he said, quote, Iran just can't say the sacred phrase, we will not build nuclear weapons. So there is this optimism that he thinks the negotiations will go forward, but kind of a realism, I think, Martha, and I think you sense that too, that the history with Iran and its negotiations doesn't lend themselves to what they're hearing so far, being able to get to a deal. So those are the things from the lunch that was off the record that he put on the record after you left. But I agree with you. I think he's in a frame of mind that this is an important speech and one where he's going to use the time to talk to the American people. And we've seen on these nights tens and tens of millions of Americans tune in to see the state of the country.
Yeah, indeed. And the hockey players are going to be there as well, Brit, in a celebratory moment for sure, where they can sort of soak it all in. And I loved what they said, because we have had some political comments coming out of the athletes, Brit Hume, but, you know, they said, look, whenever the president invites you to the White House, why wouldn't we want to go? We're just athletes and we're proud of Americans.
This is the way normal people react to something like this, whoever the president is. And it's remarkable how many people have made sour comments about this and about them. I mean, right now, they and the women who did so beautifully are kind of the darlings of America. They've lifted the nation's spirits, both those teams. There's been kind of a patriotic moment here. And I think, you know, the country's enjoying it, and the president, I think, politically was quite smart to pick up on it and bring them in.
Well, it's good that Jack Hughes is giving us all, at age 24, a lesson in how normal people react and what normal people do, which is say, of course, I'd like to go to the White House. Thank you very much, Brit Hume and Bret Baier, and a special thanks to Bret for looking at his watch when it was time to hightail it back here. So we'll see you a little bit later, Bret. Thank you very much. Thank you both, gentlemen.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.